What's up, boys? We're back with some more of the Aethermancer demo, and we can now start with the second and currently final boss of the demo as our starter Pokemon. So he has some pretty unique and interesting mechanics. Whenever an ally or enemy uses an action of one of the four elements, it changes every round. It generates a wild ether, and if you hoard up to 5 of those, you can actually use a devastating death laser that deals massive damage to all enemies and increases your damage for the rest of combat. Other than that, he has a pretty basic dual element skill, which will be a little bit easier to use with that, since I think it's a 50-50 if you have dual element stuff. So let's go ahead and jump on in, see who our second monster is here. So I think the Grimoire would actually be pretty interesting. He also has a pretty unique mechanic where if you spend 2 of every type of ether, you gain a unique action where you can select 1 out of 3 powerful spells, and then that becomes a free action that doesn't cost any ether after that. So you can use that and also use your auto attack if you want to. That has dual elements, so does that. That also steals 1 ether. That would make it pretty easy to fit in if we have the stuff for that. And then I think his basic attack actually generates 1 wild ether instead of the standard 2 of different types. So let's try that out and see what happens. Let me just... Actually, I don't think I can see their default attack outside of combat, can I? Yeah, I don't see anything about that. Can't even hover over that, it seems like. Alright, let's jump into combat and see exactly what they do then. We can jump up here and then ambush them from a... Oh wait, that's an NPC. Get ambushed, NPC. A new perk at the cost of 7 corruption. Sounds cool for our main guy. Ooh, +1 ether. Yeah, I think we'll take that then. It's just free at the start of his turn, it looks like. And then can we ambush these guys from the high ground now? I don't see any nearby. Let's see, fire or water would be the easiest to shatter with these two. So his basic attack generates water and fire, and that one generates only 1, but it's wild, so you can do a bit more towards the laser with that. We already have 2, but we can also use anything with the water tag to convert some now. That generates burn, which will do a bit more damage once we shatter him. I think we do use 1 wild ether for that. Ooh, we'll have to use like all of our wild ether if I do both of those. So I guess we'll probably just steal 1 with that then. So we'll do the stagger first. And those little dots around him are the indicators for his special ability once you've spent 8 total. Then we'll steal over here. Actually, I could interrupt him. What is he casting? Alright, yeah, let's stop that actually. So we'll definitely want to interrupt that if I can, which I can. And then we can finish him with the other guy. Are we close to getting anything cool here? I think we're a little bit off. So we'll probably end this fight before I can even get the death laser. We'll have to get some more ways to actually generate ether before I can really do that, I think. We did get his free tome thing. It's kind of overkill here, but we can show how that works. So we use this, and then we can select one of these. This would be the best, since it would give me extra ether. Actually, no, triple wild ether. So technically, we could do the death laser here, because it would be funny. Death laser! Little bit of meta currency. 5 gold for 3 corruption. Let's maybe do a little bit more in case we build up some corruption on the tome guy as well, and then we could try to use that. Can we ambush them from high ground? Doesn't seem like it. Fire is pretty easy to shatter here as well, since I think all of our attacks are fire and water. So we need to use the wild ether to steal with that. We're currently on Earth, so this will also give one back anyways. That's... okay, we can actually do this first and then shatter him for a bit of extra damage. And then stealing the ether interrupted him as well, not bad. So water's a good one. We can go up to 4 there. We'll definitely want to finish that. That's a lot of damage. Poison's kind of annoying. I wonder if we can interrupt that once he's gone, since it'll... no, it'll probably steal that down to 1, which would still allow him to use that, I think. So I don't think we can really stop that, unless I stagger? Don't think we can, yeah. So we'll just finish him easily with some water stuff. Then we may as well toss that out. Then we can just do a death laser for style points. Every 3 power applied, generate 1 random ether. Aging, whenever age is applied, heals and shields for 3. Attack consumes up to 1 wild ether to deal 8. And purge 1 enemy ether. So that would make the laser harder to use. This would make it slightly easier, but we don't really have a lot of power generation currently. I'm trying to think if there's like a supporty type monster we could fit in with that. That would be pretty good. I'm not sure. I think we will just take that and then see if we can find something for the 3rd monster to go with that. Whenever an ally purges or steals ether, 1 additional ether of the same element, allies take 1 more damage from hits. The thing that consumes it again. Oh! That goes with the aura. Oh wait, purged or stolen by this monster. I don't think he had anything for that yet, right? But we can try to look for something there. The steal was on the other guy, or was it... oh, it is him. Okay, that's perfect then. So we'll have to do that 3 times to trigger that, but then that would feed into the other guy, and we can try to tailor like future items and stuff for that as well. And then that thing was for him only, right? Yeah. So the 3rd monster, we want to have power generation, and stealing stuff won't really combo there. Gold, loot drop epic, or an ether spring. Let's try out the epic. So purge there, heal regeneration. I don't know if any of these work that well. I guess we'll probably just take him for some extra healing. He also starts with a dual element spell, which is helpful. Neither of them really have any of that. The guy kind of debuffs your own guys to empower himself, which sounds kind of risky. Yeah, I think we'll just take him as sort of a healer. So we can do fire on everyone. That'll probably use up basically everything I have to sort of convert it anyways. We'll probably always steal with him, since we have the synergy with that now. We can block his big damage attack, so that seems pretty good. I'll probably start building up a little bit of stagger over here, it looks like. So that's 8 damage and 4 burn, since I think he gets 1 cooking naturally. I can also do a bit of regen if I want to, but I think this makes a bit more sense here. So we'll have to use 1 wild ether, but it kind of refunds itself if I want to do that. I think that's fine. Wait, does that finish him? No, we need that to get the one-shot here. So we're on wind with that, which only goes with that one. We can stagger the slime now. If we could get 1 more wild, but I don't think we can do that currently. We could have done another laser. I think we'll probably just go max damage here. If we can stagger him, we can interrupt a big hit there. And then now we can Death Laser. We can also do the Unleashed Tome, see what we got there. Kind of late for the ritual now. I guess we would probably just take the Purge thing there. Oh, that generates Wild Ether as well if you interrupt something. Interesting. That's a pretty expensive spell to get for free and a ton of damage. But we probably don't even need it. Kind of wish we had gotten one of those guys for our third. I believe they both have some pretty nice healing stuff that can also help you fuel your abilities, so that would have been a pretty nice fit. So we're on water. We can cast a ton of that, but we'll also use up a little bit if I do all of the dual element stuff. So we'll probably start by stealing something and building up some stagger on one of those guys. Then I think we'll do double water things here. So we definitely finish him off. We need one more off of fire. That's pretty easy to do. Death Laser should finish those two now at 5 wilds. Steal 2 ether, sure. Every ether purchased stolen by allies, one burn to the enemy with the lowest amount. End of your turn, water hit to all enemies. Damage equals 1 for every 5 healing on this round. Every 3 fire ether consumed by allies applies burn to all enemies. I don't think any of these is super useful. We could toss a reroll and see if there's anything good there, I suppose. Regeneration on an ally with full health applies power to them. That's interesting. Third fire ether generated by your allies converted into wild ether. Ooh. That sounds interesting. Yeah, let's try that out then. So now we get even more value out of fire-based stuff. And we have fire on at least those two. What is Chromatic Scroll? 3 poise on target enemy. Elemental Challenge. So 50-50 to gain XP worthiness or take some corruption. YOLO. Easy peasy. Consume 2 burn among enemies to generate triple fire, free action. Interesting. Purge 2 ether, interrupt, deals 2 damage hit to all enemies. 4 burn to target enemy, free action. So I think this sounds interesting with the aura we just got, since that'll always be 2 fire and 1 wild now. If we can get the burn up to 2. Might be a little bit difficult, but I think this sounds cool for the long run. I think the only burn we have currently is on this. But we can only really have like 1 cooking stack from that currently, I think. This guy does have the burn tag as well. Oh, that does 3 also, okay. So we can, well, I guess you can't really do that since that'll end your turn. So we do need a bit more burn generation to go with that. End of your turn, apply 1 temporary power. Basic attacks generate 1 additional water ether. This guy's usually stealing. So I guess it would most likely be him to auto attack. I'm not sure if we can really auto though. All my skills are pretty cheap and we're filling in with wild ether a lot of the time anyways. I guess it would have to be here. But I don't think that does a ton for me. So we have lots of fire and water to play with here. If we do that, I would have to fill in 1 wilds, which I probably do want to do for the passive thing anyways. Actually, if we stagger him first, that'll naturally interrupt that. Oh, they're doing basic attacks anyways, doesn't really matter. I guess we may as well do a basic there then, actually. Can't quite finish him and we can get a little bit of extra ether. Earth is not great for that. We can only do one, I think. That would interrupt 2 of them, it looks like. That's pretty good. And then we can just finish him off naturally. We could also stagger him, but we may as well just finish that, I guess. Age itself, if it has 3 or fewer, shields for 1 for each age stack. That doesn't sound that great. It is a free action 1 water ether, so if we ever roll the water, it would be good for stacking that. Interrupt applies power to self. 5 ether. Purge 2. Interrupt generates wild ether. I feel like that's really hard to use as a regular attack. We could maybe attack with a chef to generate a bit more water, but then we're still low on the earth stuff, which we're mainly using for the grimoire. So I think this is just the easiest to use here. %33% chance to generate random ether, some evasion. I guess we'll toss it here because he's getting beat up pretty badly and it will be extra survivability. We might want to put a damage item on him at some point though. Random NPC or gold. Sure, let's see what we get. So there's actually different, like, dialogue depending on what monsters you have in your party. I guess we probably should put it on him since he's already so corrupt already. We'll see what we get on the grimoire. Interesting. I wonder, does that generate extra ether there? Looks like just wild still over there, so I guess not. So what all do we want to do here? We're on water, which is pretty easy to stack up, but we still can't do it in one turn. We can definitely stagger either of those two, and that's pretty important to do. I could probably also interrupt it with that if I want to. Then we just have a bunch of basic attacks left. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, it's fine. We can basically convert one into wild then, give them a little bit of shielding. And then this will cost 1 but give it back. We're on Earth, it looks like. And then this will stagger most of them, finish one of them. Triple Wild Ether. I don't know that that does a ton now. That's pretty huge for a single target. So we can just delete him with that. So the only Earth is right there. We can interrupt either of those two. We can interrupt him and then hit him twice to stagger him and get that out of there as well. And then I guess we probably should do that in case he takes any hits here. Then we just need one fire, which is pretty easy. And we should probably be able to one-round them here with the staggers plus the death laser. Let's see, that would cost too much of the wild. Purge enemy ether if it has burn, otherwise apply 3 burn. Pretty expensive. Heals all allies and 2 burn to all enemies. That actually sounds pretty cool. Consume all cooking stacks to apply 1 age to all allies with age for each consumed stack. So I'd spend a ton of mana to apply 1 age to the star spawn. Doesn't sound very good. This one is fairly easy to fit in, and it does burn for the aura we got on the last level, so I think that's the play. What is the burn thing? Oh, it's burn conversion. That's what I was trying to build it up for. So yeah, we can start with that and then do that if I have the ether for it. And then that will go with his aura for extra wild ether. So we have 2 fire. That would cost me 1 wild to pull that off, which we would get back if I did it. That's also a free action. What would I do after that? Water? So that would be kind of disruptive since we can naturally do a bunch of that anyways. In fact, we could almost do Death Laser here if I had a little bit more mana. I could do the free action there, and then I would need 1 wild to do one of those, so we're just off of that. I don't think basic attacking interacts with that. So we're probably going to need to do some healing here. Stealing would interrupt, so that's pretty helpful. We could also just stagger one of the fire guys naturally. I can also just do one of them with that. How bad is that? It's pretty painful. I should probably interrupt that. So we'll need to do that in order for that. Then we can do a water to convert that. Moisturize me. And we can do that to stagger him. And we can have the Death Laser ready for the next turn. Can we get a stagger up before that for extra damage? We definitely can there, probably not there. It's on wind, so we'd probably always do this. I guess it would be over there. But we can also stagger him before doing that, I think. If we get a bit more burn, we can do that as a free action. That might be worth it? Not sure. Oh right, we get his free tome thing there. Okay, that's pretty good. We can steal a bunch of ether with that and put some wind over there? Can you, like, close this to... No. Alright, let's just take the huge damage with Purging 2, I guess. The Wildflower actually is insanely good as a free action. I just think the 5 mana is really hard to naturally cast. Every 4 burn applied, generate fire ether. Interrupt deals 6 fire winds. Every 3 fire ether consumed, apply burn to all enemies. So this kind of works with some of the burn stuff we're building up now. I think we need at least 2 on them to use his thing. I want both of them, but I think this helps a bit more currently. 3 fire ether consumed. We don't really spend that much of it other than the heal on the chef. It's usually just like 1 at a time. I think this fits a bit more here. Merchants. Epic drop or witch. We have a good amount of gold. Let's go over here. So any really good items. Power chance, support action, convert one random into wild ether. That actually sounds kind of interesting on the chef. That's the only real item we could get here though. Consume all your ether, generate 7 random. I guess if you spent it all before doing that, if you got a decent amount of fire, we could get a little bit of extra wild off of him. But the issue is that would consume all of my wild ether as well. I think that's going to be hard to use. And get another copy of that. I think we will take that. He's not really basic attacking. So yeah, I think it makes the most sense here. Then we'll just get a bit of XP, I suppose. Launch your second action of the same turn, generate wild ether. I don't think I have any ways to do that. Or wait, if that counts free actions, then we have that 1 water cost, and it would work with that. We don't have any supports on him, maybe the water thing, but not the greatest. Every 3 age on any ally, cleanse 3 debuffs and apply age. Doesn't do a ton. I'll take this and see if it works for the free action thing, I think. So, first boss. So we'll definitely want to use one of those, depending on whether or not we can stagger him here. We're on fire, which is pretty good, I think. If we do that into that, that would eat up a lot of my wild ether, I think. But it'll also refund a bunch back, since we're on fire currently. Honestly, I'm down to see how that looks, I guess. Also, the healing's pretty helpful. And then this is a free action, which will give 2 fire and 1 wild, I think. Actually, 2 wild. And then we may as well do that, see if the free action thing works. Then we can just toss the poise thing since we're okay on healing for now. Oh, I actually could have done the thing. I forgot that was a free action even though I just said it. Well, we can interrupt that for now, reduce his damage a bit. That is an unfortunate weakness. So we're on Earth now. We have a free tome here. Lots of wild ether. That sounds kind of funny. So we can use this to instantly stagger him and then deal bonus damage on everything after that. We have tons of water, so may as well toss that out. And then he has another tome ready since all of that wild ether gets spent, but we've got to wait to the next turn there. Should probably heal up a bit here, I suppose. Does that interrupt? No. So we'll do that to get one wild right. I guess it spends one and then gives one back. May as well do that for the burn then, I guess. See what we get for the free tome. Lots of wild ether, steel. Kind of like the steel to get his damage down a bit, I think. We're also on wind, it looks like. Does that count, or do you have to spend it? It's wind action for many monsters, so it should count for that as well. Yeah, may as well get some more burn over there. Then even more burn, I guess. So we have the free tome ready. Power to self. That's a lot of damage. 25? That's almost as much, and it purges 2 ether though. We're on fire. I guess we'll just... That'll refund itself anyways. Once you get going, the laser thing just fully charges his passive basically every time. That's kind of crazy. Five shield, 20% evasion. That's pretty strong. Action from any ally triggers regen on them. So I think you need it active for that to actually do anything, and we don't have that much regen yet. Heal the ally on attack, that's kind of nice. Burn triggers on an enemy, apply burn to the enemy with the lowest amount of burn. That would help with the burn synergy things we already have, like the aura and the fire generation on him. So I think that makes the most sense here. That's pretty nice as well, though. Basic attacks generate 1 fire ether. We're not really basic attacking though. Probably just toss that here. Ether plus 1, minus 3 health. That's decent. Single target attack. Enemies have 5 or more purge 1 ether. 10% burn hits. power to target monster. That's pretty good for boss fights. Do I have a slot for that? I like that. I guess I would probably replace that one. Since he's never basic attacking anyways. I don't think it really improves us that much for 15 golds. I think I'd rather just take a decent artifact here and a little bit of XP. Support action, heal ally for 3, heal ally for 7. Can so apply power to self. Reduce damage by 1. That's pretty good. But also, that one is really good. I guess it comes down to whether or not I feel like that one allows me to get more lasers off. I feel like that's just really good, and then that's just a common item anyways. What is all of that? Shrug. So fire's pretty good. We would need to spend a lot of wild ether to do that combo. But also we get some of it back since it's fire right now anyways, so that's probably worth it. 2 burn to all enemies. I think it's worth it for the free action, right? And then with 1 more fire, we can instantly do the laser on the first turn. That's pretty cool. We can also do the free action here. And then every turn we should be able to laser plus instant tome thing here now. We're on water, it looks like. So that's pretty good. Yeah, I think I like that one. So the laser will probably finish everything here, but if not, we'll want to focus one of these guys down. Probably just the damage one. That's gonna be weird when we fight the final boss and we both have those auras choosing random elements. Buff applied 20% to reapply. Shielding of each shield on allies by 1. I don't think we have any of that other than on him. He does gain some power when he uses his laser, so that's not bad there. Versus the ether chance. It's pretty close. I think we'll probably keep that to try and get the lasers out as much as possible. Two XP, 100 worthiness. I guess we'll put that on Star Spawn, try and get him some extra levels. Easy. Aging every 3 age applies 1 power to self. Start of your turn generates 2 wild ether. End of your turn consumes all wild ether, deals a 4 damage hit to this monster for each. Aging whenever age is applied, heal and shield for 3. That's pretty good early on, but it's kind of hard to dump it if you can't really use it all. I'm not sure, that might be really risky. That's pretty solid since we're applying aging with the free action thing anyways. We're on Earth, only 1 for that. Do we want to do the fire combo? That would take 1 wild, give at least 1 back. Can we get a laser if I do that? I think so, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll try it. So we just need 1 more off of something. I think I'm going to be just short here. We have to use 1 wild for that. So I don't think it quite works out. So I think we'll just do the laser and then get his free action out. Probably just the big damage one here. I was hoping for an AoE, but I guess not. 1 burn to target enemy for every power stack. Second action generates wild ether. That actually works with the tome thing, right? Consume up to 1 fire ether, 5 damage hit, 3 burn. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. And also, if we do the burn combo, that would also work with it. Interrupt applies power. Each hit 10% crits, healing, +1, basic attacks, +1 fire ether. He does interrupt quite a bit with the laser attack, so that's actually pretty good. No one's really basic attacking. Healing would be okay there, but I don't think it's necessary. Mainly just the interrupt and crit chance is pretty good here, I think. I forget what the envoy does again. So extra poise or healing or power. I think there? That's a lot of damage for a long fight. I can't blitz them, what the heck? You're supposed to be able to use it from pretty far away, but it wouldn't let me use it until they were right on top of me there. So we need 1 fire, or 1 wild to do that, but it matches the fire, so that should work out. And then both of these guys are doing double actions for even more ether on top of that. Fire would get 1 more there. Can we interrupt anything with that? Yes. Damage consumes 1. We're on the winds currently, so it does give it back. 2 hit to all enemies is kind of cool. I think I like that. And then we can do a bunch of interrupts with it there. So Earth is hard to do. We'll probably just start with the fire stuff for all the synergy we have with that. One more will put us up to 3 there. Don't think I can really do anything with that. We can block a bunch of that. We can stagger him as well. $12 damage, 9 and purges 1 ether. Potentially shields them as well. We're 1 off of that. This will be a bit overkill, I guess. That one is fire and pretty good damage. Then we can go onto him to interrupt at the same time. It looks like that was going to kill 2 of them, right? What happens with that? When a more region consumes, burn stack on a random enemy to apply another region to the ally. So we would lose burn in order to gain more region. Attack heals the ally with the lowest health. Region triggers on an ally, shield them for 4. I think these are both decent with no downside. That has a little bit of a downside doing that. It's not that bad, though, since we always do the burn combo in just 1 turn. I think that's fine. That should be a lot more healing. Support action cleanse 2 debuffs, 1 temporary power to target ally. Basic attacks generate 1 more. I don't think so. Why is it so hard to jump up there? What the heck? Random NPC, sure. I can't blitz them, what the heck? Oh, I got it right as he was attacking me, actually. But it wouldn't let me use it at the normal range there for some reason. Water's pretty good. I think we... Actually, I might need both of his actions to get up to 5, so it might not be doable. If we can do 2 actions on him, it would work. So I think we actually can. Wasn't that supposed to apply 4 burn since he should have cooking at the start of his turn? I thought I would be able to do that after... Oops. Alright, I guess we can't then. I guess I'll just do that to steal 1. Then we'll stagger him. And then we'll probably want to interrupt that guy with Earth if I can here. 2x2 to all enemies, that looks pretty nice. Then we can just stagger him and finish him off. Oh, it actually would have been better if he was still using that ability. Oops. Consume all ether, generate 7 random. You can also gain 15 golds. So it looks like it's just a straight upgrade, no curse here. I'll probably just put it on the thing on the main damage dealer, I guess. I think that should work on something that deals wild damage. So that should work on the laser. Merchant sounds good with all of those resources. Can I even get up there? It doesn't seem like I can? Why are there resources over there? 75% weakness. Wild Generator Rare sounds kind of interesting. Burn and Ether Chance. Start of your turn, Shield, Earth, and Wild conversion. I feel like that's pretty good on the Grimoire. +1 Wild Generation is good for everything. And then he's often doing 2 single target attacks per round with a free tome thing. Yeah, I think that's pretty good for him. Then just a bunch of XP. Nice. Interrupt applies power to self. Consume 1 power on target ally to generate 3 wild ether with the free action. But it costs 2, so the net gain isn't that much. It's not a free action, so I don't think I would ever cast that. Let's also reroll, see what we got here. Isn't that all the same stuff? We could do that to have an extra earth spell. I don't really generate that much of it, though. Honestly, not sure any of these really even help me. Looks like boss time. What happens if you... Oh, you can't. I was wondering what the little portal symbol there was for. Alright, Star Spawn versus Star Spawn. So we got Earth, he's on the winds. I would have to use up a lot of wild for that, which probably isn't going to be worth it. Do I want to do the burn combo here? We don't really need to. Probably better to just do a lot of single target if I can. Suppose this guy will always do this and then some sort of regular attack. This guy will probably always do this to steal 1 ether and get 1 wild here. Wait, that is wind as well. I guess he probably won't do that then. So that means we want to do a bunch of fire attacks. So I probably will do this then. It'll take 1 wild, but generate even more than that, I think. We'll start putting the power on him. And then using that's fine for some extra burn. That doesn't interrupt anything, so not a big deal. I would have to use 1 wild on that, which probably isn't worth it. And then now we should be good on Ether at this point. Now that we can do 2 actions every turn. Especially with fire there and earth there, that's a pretty good roll. Wait, does Wild generate his thing? Okay, thank God. That would have been so bad if his laser counted mine. So he was on Earth. Purge 2 is pretty good. It also purges 2. Looks like he doesn't have burn currently, but I can do it with him, so I think that's fine. fire. That could be kind of bad. That's basically everything there. Get some more power on him. And then see what we get here on the tome, I guess, after this. So those are both fire. That's pretty good if we can get an interrupt on it. Which we can, not bad. Now, does generating one wild ether for him make a big difference? I don't think so, so I think we're okay to cast one spell. That's about the same. That is a little bit of extra burn. As long as we don't get the 5 or his death laser, I think we're okay. We should be able to finish him on this round, I think. One more power here. Death Laser brings him to 64. Might need something good on the tome. How much does his laser do? 22. Combined with the other stuff, that might kill me. So we might want to play it safe here. He's on water. So probably not that. That's pretty good. That's a bit less damage, unless you interrupt. We're on fire, so that does a little bit more for that, I guess. He's on water. Okay, I guess we easily had enough then. Burn damage +1. The death laser like a bow spills. That was a pretty cool combo where we could death laser and then it would instantly fill up the tome and then he could take 2 actions with the free one being insanely strong every turn. I don't know that the chef did a ton. He wasn't terrible once we got the burning aura for the grimoire that gave us extra wild ether based on like burn on them or whatever. But I think we could have had something better than that. I'm not sure what though. Pretty cool so far for a demo, but that's going to be it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.